Welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to be talking about community interest companies and CIOs, charities, what the difference is and why I prefer CICs. Now I'm going to be talking about this from a point of experience. I've been running CICs for the last 12 years. I help people set up CICs. I've been doing that for the last 2 years and I've set up over 500 CICs. But occasionally I get people that come to me and they're like, should I set up a CIO? Would I be better with a charity? And we look at it and 9 times out of 10 I say no, you want to have a CIC. But occasionally they do want a CIO, in which case I direct them to another service, and I'll put that link in the description of where you can go if you decide to go through that. So in this video, we're going to be talking about what the difference is and why CIC is better. If you like it, please hit the subscribe button for everything to do with CICs and grant funding, and also jump over to my website where I've got my course, How to Set Up a CIC and Get Grant Funded in 4 months. Like over 500 people have done this course. It's really good. It's a step-by-step. Watch the videos, fill in the forms. It even helps you with the first grant application for the National Lotteries Community Fund and gives you a huge list of other grant funders to apply for. So go over there and check out that. So why do I prefer CICs? So let's talk about the difference first of all. So a CIC is in between a CIO, charity, and a regular LTD business. There is a difference because a charity is able to get grant funding, is able to have donations, but a LTD of course sells goods and services. So the great thing about a CIC is it's basically in between the two and it is able to do both. So it's able to get grant funding and fundraise. Now it can't get quite as much grant funding as a charity, but still there's absolutely loads. There's plenty to go around. So it can get loads of grant funding. And then it can also be entrepreneurial and, sell goods and services, which is great. That is also another perk. Now, if your CIC is set up limited by guarantee, which it should be, it means you can't have shares. So your profits that you can make profits, but they have to be reinvested into the CIC. You can't pay yourself in dividends or shares. So that is one difference. And you wouldn't be able to get grant funding if you weren't set up limited by guarantee. So that is something you need to factor in, and that's something we talk about a lot in the course. So we make sure you pick the right structure for you and you set everything else up correctly. Because quite often I see people set up incorrectly and then they end up coming back to me to sort it out. So if you do my course, you save all of that kerfuffle and you make sure you set it up correctly. So that's the difference. So why do I prefer it? So I've already said, yes, you are able to be entrepreneurial, but it's not just that. It is far easier to set up a community interest company. And often people are setting up at a grassroots level. They don't have a lot of support, and a charity is a lot more work. You need more directors that are more involved. Whereas with a CIC, you could just get a couple of supporting directors. They've only got to attend quarterly meetings. There's a lot less regulation involved. With a charity, you've got far more regulation. Your directors need to be a lot more involved. There's a lot more work to do, a lot more paperwork. And, that is a much bigger undertaking. Whereas a CIC is relatively easy to do. I mean, when I set up my CIC, I had a couple of directors. I was able to manage that myself. They were just there to support me on, signing things off and being at the meetings. But other than that, I could basically function and do as I pleased. So it's definitely a lot easier. Something you can set up within a couple of hours. Obviously, my course helps you set up really fast anyway. You can set it up fairly easily. You don't have to write volumes of articles of association, which, get really complex as they are with a charity. It's a lot more simple. You pretty much just need a asset lock. An asset lock is when you nominate another, could be a charity or another community interest company, just in case your CIC was to close and then you had some assets and then they would have to go to the charity. So that's because you're not allowed to dissolve things and pay directors. It's called an asset lock. So that's one of the only stipulations in a CIC, especially one that's limited by guarantee. So it's a lot easier to set up. Like I said, you can still make mistakes, which is obviously why I created the course, but still it's easier. So that's that. It's easier. The next thing is about the whole profits thing. Now, why would you want to only rely on grant funding and fundraising? You'd have to constantly go cap in hand all of the time trying to ask for money. It's much better to be a little bit entrepreneurial and have more options to be able to raise money. Like, it's so much better to be able to sell some goods and services as well. You just open up so many more possibilities. You're also able then to bring more money in to pay yourself. So you would be able to get more money to yourself this way. So it's a much better system for paying yourself because you're bringing the money in, so you can pay yourself whatever you like. So if you have a CIC with some, some entrepreneurial income streams, you're going to be able to pay yourself a lot easier to do the work. So that's generally the reasons why I prefer it. It's easier, less hassle. You are still able to, enjoy the grant funding and the fundraising, but you're able to also make some profits, which means that you're more sustainable and can obviously pay yourself a wage and create a living for yourself. So that's why I prefer a community interest company.